After a long, grueling double shift at the hospital, a young nurse dragged herself home, her body aching and her eyes heavy with exhaustion. All she wanted was a quiet evening, maybe a few hours of sleep before the next day began. But the sound of her best friend's muffled sobs pulled her out of her thoughts. She walked into the room and found her friend curled up on the couch, clutching her phone. Through tears, the friend confessed that she was supposed to go on a blind date that evening, but her nerves had gotten the best of her. She was terrified of meeting a stranger, of saying the wrong thing, of being judged. The nurse listened patiently, her heart aching for the girl she loved like a sister. Without thinking twice, she reached out, brushed away her friend's tears, and said softly, "I'll go instead. Just this once. Don't worry about it." Her friend protested, shocked at the idea, but the nurse insisted. She wasn't expecting much. Maybe an awkward dinner, a few polite words, and then back to her ordinary life. She didn't even dress up the way she might have if it had been her own date. Instead, she slipped into a simple dress, tied her hair back, and looked at herself in the mirror with a small, tired smile. It wasn't glamour or excitement she carried with her that night, it was kindness, the quiet kind that chooses to step in for someone else, even when no one is watching. After a long day at the hospital, the nurse sat across the table from a man she had never met before. She had expected the dinner to be awkward, maybe even silent, but the moment he spoke, she noticed something unusual. He wasn't arrogant or cold the way she had imagined a wealthy CEO might be. Instead, there was a heaviness in his tone, a tiredness in his eyes that mirrored her own. At first, their conversation was polite, just small talk about the restaurant, the weather, and their jobs. But as the minutes passed, she found herself genuinely listening. He spoke about his work, about the pressure of being responsible for so many people, and though his words carried the weight of power, there was also an emptiness beneath them. He laughed once or twice, but even then, she could feel the loneliness behind it. What surprised him most was her silence, not the kind that made things uncomfortable, but the kind that showed she was truly paying attention. No one had listened to him like this in years. She wasn't trying to impress him, wasn't trying to flatter or pretend. She was simply there, present in the moment, and it made him open up in a way he hadn't expected. Somewhere between the first sip of wine and the last bite of dinner, he realized that this woman, this stranger, made him feel seen in a way that wealth, success, and even power had never given him. Midway through dinner, just as the conversation was beginning to flow more naturally, his phone buzzed on the table. He hesitated before picking it up, but the screen lit up with a picture of a little girl, no older than 6. The nurse caught the glimpse and smiled softly, but his expression told a deeper story. He silenced the call and sighed, almost apologetically. "That's my daughter," he admitted, his voice quieter now. "She's my whole world." But, he paused, searching for the right words. "I've been raising her alone ever since her mother left. Some nights I think I've done well, other nights I feel like I've failed her completely." The vulnerability in his eyes disarmed her. He wasn't the untouchable CEO everyone imagined, he was a father, worn and lonely, carrying burdens too heavy for one heart. The nurse felt her chest tighten with compassion. She knew what it meant to put others before yourself, to fight through exhaustion for the sake of someone else's well-being. His struggle wasn't foreign, it was human. Instead of pulling away from the revelation, she leaned closer. "She's lucky to have you," she whispered sincerely. "A lot of kids don't even get half that love." The word seemed to steady him, like a weight being shared instead of carried alone. For the first time that night, he didn't feel like a powerful CEO or a man on a blind date, he felt like a father who had just been understood. After dinner, he insisted on walking her outside. The city lights shimmered across the street, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. She clutched her bag tightly, her heart pounding with a truth she could no longer hide. Finally, she stopped, turned to him, and said nervously, "There's something I need to tell you. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. This date, it wasn't mine. I came in place of my friend." Her voice trembled as the words slipped out, and she braced herself for disappointment, maybe even anger. She expected him to feel betrayed, to walk away and never look back. But instead, he just stared at her quietly, as if weighing the moment. His eyes softened, and then a small smile tugged at the corner of his lips. "I should be upset," he admitted honestly. "But the truth is, I'm glad it was you." Her breath caught in her chest. He continued, his voice low but certain, "Tonight, I wasn't looking for perfection. I was looking for something real. And with you, I felt it." The weight she had carried all evening dissolved in an instant. What began as an act of kindness for a friend had turned into something she never expected. In that quiet moment on the street, under the glow of the city lights, she realized that sometimes fate works in the most unexpected ways, placing the right people in each other's lives, even if the path to get there isn't straightforward. Weeks later, the nurse found herself standing at the CEO's doorstep, her heart racing. This time, she wasn't there for a dinner or a polite conversation, she was about to meet the most important person in his life. The door swung open, and before he could even call out, a little girl ran toward her with open arms. The child's laughter rang through the hallway as she hugged the nurse tightly, as if she had been waiting for her all along. Startled, the nurse knelt down, returning the embrace with tears stinging her eyes. It felt natural, effortless, like love had quietly bloomed between them without asking permission. The CEO stood behind them, his eyes glistening. For so many years, he had carried the weight of loneliness, believing that success and responsibility had left no room for happiness. Yet here it was, unfolding right before him, in the warmth of his daughter's laughter and the gentle kindness of a woman who had never meant to be here in the first place. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "I thought I'd lost my chance at a family. But maybe, this was always meant to be." The nurse looked up at him, smiling through her tears, and in that instant, she understood. This wasn't about a blind date anymore. It was about healing, about finding love where it was least expected. And from that day on, he never let her go, because sometimes the most beautiful beginnings are the ones written by fate.